The neon blue light of the studio cast sharp, cold angles across Leo Vance's face. To the 5 million people currently watching his live stream, he was Zero, the untouchable god of the gaming world, a man as silent and lethal as a glacier. Leo's fingers danced over the keyboard with mechanical precision. He didn't smile. He didn't trash talk. He just won. Almost there, Leo thought, his eyes narrowing. One more kill, and the world record is mine. Outside, Chloe Moon was having the worst night of her life. She stood on the shared fire escape, shivering in her game-over hoodie and mismatched fuzzy socks. Her own apartment was currently filling with smoke from a microwave disaster, and the door had slammed shut behind her, locking her out. "I just need to borrow a phone," Chloe pleaded silently, looking at the glowing glass door of Suite 4A. The mysterious tech, millionaire neighbor must be home. Just one phone call. She tapped on the glass. No answer. She tapped louder. Still nothing. Through the sheer curtains, she saw the glow of a dozen monitors, desperate and coughing from the smoke. Chloe pushed the sliding door. To her shock, it was unlocked. "Excuse me?" she rasped, stepping into the ultra-chilled, lavender-scented air of the most expensive apartment she'd ever seen. "I'm so sorry to intrude, but I'm your neighbor and my kitchen is technically on fire." The man in the high, back chair didn't move. He looked like a statue made of silver and ice. Chloe walked closer, her heart hammering, as she stepped over a thick coil of glowing fiber, optic cables. She caught a glimpse of his screen. Her jaw dropped. Zero? My neighbor is Zero? She knew that silver hair. Every gamer on the planet knew that silver hair. She had a poster of him on her wall back in college. He was the reason she'd started streaming in the first place. Suddenly, Leo spoke. His voice was a low, dangerous velvet. "You have exactly 5 seconds to tell me why you're in my house before I call security." Chloe froze. I'm Chloe, from 4B. There was a fire, and the door locked, and I'm currently live, streaming to 50 people who are watching me die of embarrassment. 4 seconds, Leo interrupted, his eyes never leaving the screen. "Please, I just need a phone," in her rush to get his attention. Chloe's foot caught on the very cables she had been trying to avoid. She gasped, her arms flailing. "Wait." Leo turned his chair, his icy blue eyes widening as he realized she was falling. They hit the floor with a heavy groan. Chloe landed squarely on his chest, her hands clutching his shoulders, her face inches from his. The scent of his expensive sandalwood cologne mixed with the faint smell of her burnt ramen. For a long, agonizing second, they both stared at each other. Leo's heart was racing, not from the game, but from the sudden, warm weight of the girl on top of him. Her eyes were wide, sparkling with a mix of terror and awe. "Are you okay?" she whispered. Leo didn't answer. He couldn't. He was looking past her, at the main monitor. The camera, which was still perfectly positioned, was broadcasting this exact scene to 5 million people. From the camera's angle, it didn't look like an accident. It looked like Leo Zero Vance, the man who claimed to hate everyone, had just been tackled into a passionate embrace by a mysterious, pink-haired girl. The chat window was moving so fast the text was vibrating. "Get off," Leo hissed, his voice trembling with a mix of shock and fury. Chloe scrambled back, her face turning a shade of red that matched her hair. Leo stood up, his career in ruins. He turned to Chloe, his expression hardening into a mask of frigid steel. "You wanted to save your night?" Chloe from 4B? Leo stepped toward her, looming over her until she was backed against the wall. He leaned down, his voice a sharp whisper against her ear. "You're going to stay right here and play the part until I say otherwise." Leo slammed his hand onto the end stream button. The glowing live sign finally died, but the damage was done. 5 million people had just seen the Ice King of Gaming being pinned to the floor by a girl in fuzzy penguin socks. I should go, Chloe whispered, her face burning. She tried to back away toward the balcony, but the door behind her burst open before she could reach it. Leo, what in the name of the internet was that? A woman in a sharp power suit stormed in, her heels clicking like gunfire on the hardwood floor. This was Sarah, Leo's legendary manager. She was holding a tablet that was vibrating non-stop with notification pings. Sarah, "It's not what it looks like," Leo said, his voice regaining its usual icy composure. "It looks like you have a secret girlfriend, Leo," Sarah snapped, thrusting the tablet in front of his face. "And the internet? They're not angry. They're obsessed." She swiped through the screen. Zero Gravity was trending #1 on X. Fans were already making fan art of the mystery girl and the Ice King. The stock price of his main sponsor had actually ticked up. Sarah's eyes finally landed on Chloe, who was trying to hide behind a giant plushie on Leo's sofa. "And you? Who are you? An assassin? A stalker?" "I'm the neighbor," Chloe squeaked. "My microwave exploded. I just needed a phone." Sarah looked at Chloe, then at Leo, then back at the trending hashtags. A slow, terrifyingly professional smile spread across her face. "Leo, your last 3 sponsors complained that you're too robotic. They said you lack human relatability. Well, here is your humanity, in penguin socks." Leo stood up, his tall frame casting a long shadow over the room. "Sarah, you can't be serious. She's a disaster. Did you see her trip?" "Exactly," Sarah countered. "She's the Chaos Queen. You're the Ice King. It's the perfect narrative. The fans will eat it up." Leo looked at Chloe. He looked at her messy pink hair, her wide, nervous eyes, and the way she was biting her lip. "She's a glitch in my perfect system," he thought. A loud, messy, unpredictable glitch. "Fine," Leo said, his voice dropping to a low growl. "But there are rules." Leo stepped closer to Chloe, his presence overwhelming the small space between them. "Rule number 3, no personal feelings. This is a business transaction. There will be no real dating, no real touching, and absolutely no falling in love." Chloe looked up at him, close up. His eyes weren't just icy, they were deep, like the ocean. Chloe took the pen and scribbled her name. It was done. "Excellent," Sarah said, clapping her hands. "Now, for the first official couple photo. Leo, put your arm around her." Leo hesitated, then reached out. His hand settled firmly on Chloe's waist, pulling her flush against his side. The heat of his body was startling. Chloe instinctively leaned into him, her hand resting on his chest. Click. Chloe stood there, feeling the lingering warmth of his hand on her waist. She turned to leave, but stopped when she saw Leo's phone on the desk. A notification popped up from the photo Sarah had just posted. It was a comment from Leo's biggest rival, a gamer named Viper. "Zero has a girl? Interesting. Let's see how well he plays when he has something to lose." Chloe felt a chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. Chloe Moon was a creature of chaos, and Leo Vance's apartment was a temple of order. The next morning, Chloe stood in the foyer of Suite 4A with 2 battered suitcases and a giant, moth-eaten plushie shaped like a grumpy cat. The apartment was blindingly white, smelling of expensive air purifier and "leave me alone." Leo stood in the kitchen, wearing a crisp black hoodie, sipping an espresso. He looked at her suitcases as if they contained biohazardous waste. Leo walked over and handed her a thick, leather-bound folder. "The rules. Read them. Memorize them. Live them." Chloe opened the folder. Rule 14, no scent. Heavy foods. Rule 22, no touching the hardware without supervision. Rule 45, all laughter must be kept below 60 decibels after 10 p.m. Are you a gamer or a Victorian headmaster? Chloe asked, looking up at him. Because you have the romantic charisma of a frozen bag of peas. We need to fix this. She reached up. Before Leo could flinch, her fingers brushed the silver hair near his temple, tucking a stray lock behind his ear. Leo froze. His heart gave a traitorous little thud against his ribs. Her fingers were warm, far warmer than the air in his perfectly climate-controlled home. Don't touch me, he rasped, though he didn't move away. 2 hours later, the Go Live notification pinged. Leo reached out and pulled Chloe into the frame. She waved at the camera, wearing one of Leo's oversized hoodies, a detail Sarah insisted would break the internet. Hi guys, I'm Chloe, she said, her voice bright and bubbly. Hey! Chloe nudged him with her shoulder. But I'm your walking disaster, right? Here. Leo sighed. He didn't think about it. He just slid his chair closer, his chest pressing against her shoulder. He reached over, his large hand covering hers on the mouse to guide her character through the level. The room suddenly felt 10 degrees hotter. Chloe stopped talking. Leo looked down at her, and for a second, he forgot 5 million people were watching. See? He whispered, his voice dangerously low. It's easy when you just let me lead. Suddenly, a massive red alert flashed on the screen. A $10,000 Dolaroche had just come through, overriding the chat. It was from Viper. The message read, "Nice acting, Leo. But let's see if she's still your disaster when I beat your time at the Invitational next week. Or maybe I should invite her to my team instead. She looks like she needs a winner." Leo's grip on Chloe's hand tightened. His eyes went from warm to ice, cold in a heartbeat. He reached out and abruptly cut the stream. Leo let go of Chloe's hand as if she had burned him. He stood up, his face pale. That was a challenge. And because of this contract, you just became my biggest weakness. He turned and stormed toward his bedroom. Chloe stood in the dark studio, her hand still feeling the ghost of his warmth. She looked at the monitor. If she's fake, he's finished. If she's real, he's already lost. I can't breathe. Sarah, I'm fairly certain my internal organs are being redistributed. Chloe wheezed, staring at her reflection. In her place stood a stranger in a silk, emerald, green slip dress that hugged every curve. Her pink hair had been styled into elegant, soft waves, and her mismatched socks had been replaced by 4-inch stiletto heels. Sarah adjusted a diamond earring on Chloe's ear. This isn't a stream. This is the creator's gala. No filters, no lag. Just pure, high-definition romance. The door to the dressing room opened. Leo walked in. He was wearing a tailored charcoal suit with a black turtleneck. He looked less like a gamer and more like a young billionaire about to buy a small country. Leo stopped in his tracks. His eyes swept over Chloe, lingering on the exposed skin of her shoulders and the way the emerald silk shimmered. For a fleeting second, his Ice King mask cracked, replaced by a look of genuine, startled heat. The gala was a sea of flashing lights. As they stepped out of the black town car, the paparazzi went wild. Leo's grip on Chloe's waist tightened. She felt him stiffen. She looked up and noticed a fine bead of sweat on his temple. "Deep breaths, Mr. Grumpy," Chloe whispered, leaning her head closer to his shoulder. "Just look at me. Ignore the cameras. I've got you." Leo looked down at her, surprised. "You're not nervous?" Until she appeared, Serafina, the queen of lifestyle vlogging. "Leo, darling," Serafina purred, ignoring Chloe. "I didn't realize you were into charity work now." She flicked a dismissive eye toward Chloe's dress. Chloe stepped forward, a bright, razor sharp smile on her face. "Actually, Serafina, it's custom. But I can see why you're confused. You're so used to being sponsored by brands that you've probably forgotten what it's like to actually own something original." As they reached the balcony, Leo finally let out a long, shaky breath. He turned to Chloe, his eyes intense in the moonlight. "Why did you do that?" he asked softly. "Because rule number 1, I am your disaster. Nobody else gets to mess with you." Leo stared at her. He leaned in. His hand traveled from her waist to her cheek, his thumb brushing against her lower lip. "Chloe," he whispered. He leaned down, his lips inches from hers. Suddenly, Leo's phone vibrated violently. He pulled back as if he'd been electrocuted. He checked the screen, his face turning ghostly white. He turned the screen toward her. The guest room. Her room had been tossed. And written in red spray paint across the wall was a single word: "Fraud." The red spray paint was still wet, dripping down the wall like blood. Chloe's suitcases had been ripped open, her clothes scattered, and Sir Fluff, lot lay face, down in the corner. "Don't move." Leo's voice was a low, dangerous vibration. He stood in front of Chloe, his arm shielding her as if he expected the intruder to jump out of the closet. "Leo, I don't understand." Chloe whispered. "Security is reviewing the tapes," Sarah said. "They only targeted you." "She can't stay here," Leo said suddenly. Chloe looked at him, her heart sinking. "No," Leo interrupted. His icy blue eyes were filled with a fierce, protective intensity. "You're not going to a hotel where anyone can find you. You're staying in the primary suite, with me." "Leo?" Chloe stammered. "The primary suite, as in your room?" "It's the only room with a biometric lock," Leo said, his jaw tight. An hour later, Chloe was tucked into a mountain of blankets on the oversized velvet sofa in Leo's master bedroom. Leo was sitting at a secondary desk across the room, the glow of his laptop illuminating the sharp lines of his face. He'd been staring at the security footage for 40 minutes. "Leo?" Chloe whispered into the darkness. "You should sleep. You have that big tournament practice tomorrow." "I can't sleep while someone thinks they can walk into my home and threaten you," he replied. "We're a team, remember?" Chloe smiled, a real, genuine smile. The Ice King and the Chaos Queen. "If they want to get to me, they have to go through you. And I've seen you play, Leo. Nobody gets past your defense." Leo stared at her for a long moment. He reached up, his hand hesitating before he gently tucked a strand of pink hair behind her ear. His touch was electric. "You're surprisingly brave," he murmured. "Go to sleep, Chloe," he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I'll be right here. Promise?" "I promise." Chloe climbed back onto the sofa, feeling oddly safe despite everything. She watched Leo's silhouette as he climbed into his own bed a few yards away. Just as she was drifting off, she heard his voice one last time. "Chloe, I found something on the footage. It wasn't a fan. The person who entered the room. They had a key card. A staff-level key card. Someone from the agency, someone Sarah trusts, is working with Viper." Chloe sat up, the darkness of the room suddenly feeling like it was closing in. "But that means—" "It means," Leo said, his eyes glowing in the dark, "that the only person we can trust right now is each other. Waking up in a room that costs more than your entire life is an experience. Waking up to find a shirtless Leo Vance doing one-handed push-ups at the foot of your sofa is an entirely different level of trauma. Don't look at his back. Do not look at those muscles, Chloe Moon. You are a professional fake girlfriend." Chloe pulled the duvet over her head, her heart hammering against her ribs. "I know you're awake, Chloe." Leo's voice was slightly out of breath. "Get up. We have date training in 30 minutes. Chloe peeked out from under the blanket. "Date training? Is that a real thing? Can I level up my holding hand stat?" Leo stood up, grabbing a towel to wipe the sweat from his neck. He looked at her, his expression unreadable. "Viper is watching. The mole is watching. If we go to the invitational next week and look like strangers, The contract is dead. We need to look inseparable. The training happened in a quiet, neon-drenched corner of the city, a retro arcade hidden in a basement. An arcade? Chloe asked, her eyes lighting up at the sound of 8-bit music. The Ice King knows how to have fun. It's private, Leo said, pulling his cap lower over his eyes. The owner is an old friend. No cameras. No fans. Just us practicing. Being a couple. Chloe skipped toward a vintage Street Fighter cabinet. Practice. Huh? Okay. 0. Hold my hand. Leo froze. He looked at her outstretched hand as if she were offering him a live grenade, slowly. Tentatively, he reached out. When his fingers laced through hers, Chloe felt a jolt of electricity. Your hand is shaking, she teased. It's not shaking, Leo lied, his grip tightening. It's a tactical adjustment. 10 minutes later, the god of gaming was struggling on a Dance Dance Revolution stage. Chloe was a blur of motion, laughing. Come on, 0. Where's that legendary reflex speed? This machine is rigged. Leo panted, but he was laughing. Chloe stopped. She had never seen him laugh like this. Genuine, bright. Oh no, Chloe thought. He's not just a contract anymore. He's a person. When the song ended, they were both breathless. Leo reached out, his hands settling on her waist to pull her close. I'm practicing the lingering gaze. Isn't that what Sarah said? Leo. Shut up for a second, Chloe, he said softly. I'm just thinking about how your hair smells like vanilla. Leo started to lean in. His eyes drifted to her lips. Chloe closed her eyes, her heart screaming finally. RRT. Leo's phone exploded. It's Sarah, Leo said, his voice cold. The invitational is tomorrow. And there's more. Viper just posted a video at your old apartment, telling the world he's found the truth about your past. As they ran toward the car, Chloe looked back at the arcade. The neon lights were flickering out. The game was no longer just a game, it was a war. The arena was a monster of glass, steel, and screaming fans. 10,000 people were packed into the stands, their glowing thunder sticks creating a sea of rhythmic, neon light. Chloe stood backstage, her hands shaking so hard she had to tuck them into the pockets of her oversized Zero-G team jacket. She could hear the bass of the announcer's voice vibrating through the floorboards. You're pale, a voice said beside her. Leo was leaning against her equipment crate, looking impossibly calm. He was already wearing his pro jersey, his silver hair swept back. He looked like a king preparing for a crusade. Leo walked over, his shadow falling over her. He didn't say anything at first. He just reached out and took her hand. His grip was firm, steady, and grounded. They don't matter, Leo said, his icy blue eyes locking onto hers. The only person in this building you need to worry about is me. Do you trust me? Chloe looked at their joined hands, then up at him. I trust you, she whispered. Viper stepped through, followed by his own personal camera crew. He leaned in, his voice loud enough for his camera crew to catch every word. So, Chloe, how does it feel? Going from a girl who couldn't pay for her own ramen to living in a penthouse. Is the Ice King as cold in bed as he is on screen? Or is the paycheck the only thing keeping you warm? Leo stepped forward, moving Chloe behind him in one smooth, protective motion. He was inches from Viper's face now, his expression one of pure, frigid lethality. Leo reached back, his hand finding Chloe's waist and pulling her flush against his side. He looked directly into Viper's camera lens. Chloe isn't here because of a paycheck, Leo said, his voice echoing. She's here because she's the only person who makes this game worth playing. If you have a problem with her, you have a problem with me. They sat at the dual gaming stations. Leo put on his headset, but before the match started, He turned to Chloe. He reached across the gap between their chairs, his fingers grazing her cheek. "Ignore the chat," he mouthed. "Watch me." The roar of the crowd was deafening. The Ice King has arrived, and he brought his queen. Viper's team executed a desperate maneuver. Leo's character was cornered. The screen flashed red. Leo looked at Chloe for a split second. He saw the genuine fear in her eyes. Suddenly, Leo's hands moved in a blur. He sacrificed his primary weapon to trigger a chain reaction explosion that took out Viper's entire squad, and himself simultaneously. The screen went black, then draw. Leo stood up, ripping his headset off. He walked straight to Chloe, grabbed her by the lapels of her jacket, and pulled her into a standing position, in front of 10,000 people, and 5 million more watching at home. Leo Vance leaned down and kissed her. It was desperate, fierce, and tasted like adrenaline and sandalwood. Chloe's head spun, her hands clutching his jersey for balance. Sarah came rushing onto the stage, her face a mask of panic. She leaned into Leo's ear, whispering. Leo's grip on Chloe's arm tightened. Leo looked at her, his voice a ghost of a whisper. The mole didn't just leak the contract, Chloe. They leaked the audio from our date training at the arcade. Every word we said. Including the part where I told you it was all an exercise. They know, Leo said. His eyes filled with a sudden, crushing despair. They know it's fake. The ride back to the penthouse was a nightmare. Outside the tinted windows of the SUV, angry fans held up signs. Some were crying, others were screaming scammer and fake at the top of their lungs. Inside the car, the silence was suffocating. Leo sat with his jaw clenched so tight a muscle was jumping in his cheek. Chloe stared at her lap, her hands twisting the fabric of Leo's team jacket. Her phone was a vibrating brick of hate notifications. I ruined him, Chloe thought. We have to end it, Sarah said, her voice trembling. The sponsors are already sending termination notices. We release a statement tonight. We say the contract was a social experiment. We say you two are parting ways effective immediately. No, Leo said. It was just one word. But it cut through the room like a shard of ice. Leo, be rational, Sarah hissed. I'm not lying anymore, Leo said. Finally looking up, his eyes were red, rimmed, but his gaze was steady. It's not because of you. Leo stepped toward her, his presence suddenly overwhelming. It's because I was a coward, Chloe. I was so afraid of being vulnerable that I hid behind a piece of paper and a legal team. He was inches away from her now. Chloe could feel the heat radiating off him. That kiss. On the stage. Chloe whispered. Was that part of the exercise too? Was that for the fans? Leo reached out, his hands gripping her shoulders. He pulled her closer until their foreheads were touching. His breath was shaky, his guard completely gone. If that was for the fans, Leo murmured, his voice thick with emotion. I wouldn't be trembling right now. Chloe looked into his eyes and realized he was telling the truth. This was just Leo, a boy who was terrified of losing the only real thing he'd found in years. Leo wiped the tear away with his thumb. I'm going to tell them the truth, the whole truth, including the part where the fake girlfriend I hired accidentally became the only person I've ever loved. Chloe's heart stopped. Did he just say? I'm not letting you go back to 4B, Chloe, he said. Leo leaned down, his lips brushing against hers in a soft, lingering promise. I need you to help me pack, because after that stream, we aren't staying here. We're going somewhere where the cameras can't find us. A loud bang echoed from the hallway. Emergency security override. Major sponsor breach, Mr. Vance. Please open the door for asset recovery. Leo grabbed Chloe's hand, pulling her toward the back exit. The fire escape, Chloe asked, a frantic laugh bubbling up. Again? This time, Leo said. throwing a bag over his shoulder and looking at her with a wild, beautiful grin. "We aren't tripping. This place smells like lemon bleach and broken dreams," Chloe whispered, staring at the peeling floral wallpaper of the Starlight Motel. Leo dropped his single duffel bag onto the stained carpet. He looked entirely out of place in his designer hoodie, his silver hair glowing under the dim yellow light of a single bedside lamp. "It's perfect," Leo said, his voice surprisingly calm. "It's perfect because there are no cameras. No, Sarah, no sponsors. And for the first time in 3 years, nobody knows where I am." He walked toward her, the floorboards groaning under his weight. He stopped just inches away, his shadow looming over her. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. Chloe looked up at him, her lip trembling. "I don't think okay is in my vocabulary right now." Leo didn't say a word. He simply reached out and pulled her into a hug. It wasn't a PR hug. It was a solid, grounding embrace. She buried her face in his chest, breathing in the fading scent of his sandalwood cologne. An hour later, the Ice King was sitting cross-legged on the floor, blowing on a plastic fork full of noodles. "It's actually not bad," Leo admitted. Chloe laughed, leaning against the side of the creaky bed. "Welcome to the life of a chaos queen, Leo." Leo looked at his hands. "I had 50 million followers, Chloe," Leo said, his voice cracking. "And not one person I could call to tell them I was having a panic attack until I met you." Chloe's phone began to glow with a frantic, white light. The headline: "The Scammers Reveal, Chloe Moon's Secret Past Exposed." Under the headline was a blurry photo of Chloe from 3 years ago. The article claimed Chloe was a professional honey trap. This is a lie," Chloe gasped, her hands shaking. "Viper," Leo hissed, his eyes turning to ice. "He's trying to destroy your entire life so no one will ever believe a word you say." Suddenly, there was a heavy, rhythmic thud at the door. "Leo Vance, we know you're in there. Open up." Leo stood up, his jaw set. He didn't move toward the door. He moved toward the window. "I'm not going out there to tell them a lie, Chloe. I'm going out there to show them they picked the wrong person to mess with." He turned back to her, extending his hand. "Ready to be a criminal for real, Chloe Moon?" The van screeched away just as a dozen reporters rounded the corner. Chloe peered through a small crack in the rear door, watching the cameras fade. "We lost them," she exhaled, her heart still trying to beat its way out of her chest. She looked at Leo, who was staring at his hands in the dark. "Who is Silas? And where are we going?" "Silas is the man who taught me how to click a mouse before I could walk," Leo said. "And we're going to the only place Viper's money can't reach. Inside, beneath 3 layers of reinforced concrete, was a bunker. It smelled of ozone, old coffee, and burning dust. It was filled with the most powerful servers Chloe had ever seen. "Welcome to the underground," Silas grunted, flicking a switch. A row of monitors hummed to life, bathing the room in a ghostly green glow. "Silas," Leo said, his voice turning professional. "I need 2 rigs. Clean lines. Encrypted. We have 6 days until the rematch." Leo: "I'm a chaos queen who plays cozy farm simulators. I can't compete in a pro invitational." Leo walked over to her, his expression more intense than she had ever seen it. He took her hands in his. "I'm not just going to win the rematch, Chloe," Leo said. "We are. The only way to prove you aren't a scam is for you to be on that stage with me. We're going to show the world that you aren't a distraction. You're my partner." At 3 a.m., Leo would pull his chair next to hers. He'd rest his hand on hers, guiding her mouse. "Relax your wrist, Chloe," he whispered into her ear, his breath tickling her neck. "Don't fight the movement. Feel it." Leo turned his head slightly, his lips only an inch from her temple. "I have a good teacher, Chloe said, her voice trembling. Leo finally looked at her. In the dim green light, he looked like a hero from a tragic story, beautiful, haunted, and utterly devoted. The bug was planted 3 weeks ago. Before Chloe even moved in. Leo, the person who's been recording you, it's your own brother. Leo went perfectly still. His face didn't turn red with anger. It turned a terrifying, hollow white. Marcus, Leo whispered. And there's more. He's claiming you're having a mental breakdown and that he's taking legal control of the Zero G brand. He's at the arena right now, Leo, with Viper. Then we stop playing by the rules, Chloe said, her eyes flashing with her own spark of chaos. Leo, give me your phone. I have an idea, and it involves a very large, very angry, grumpy cat. Chloe took the phone, her face determined. The rematch was in 4 hours. The Chaos Queen was ready to execute her greatest heist yet. Remind me why I'm wearing a giant mascot suit of a depressed cat? Leo's voice was muffled, echoing inside the plush, oversized head of Sir Fluff. Lot. Because, Chloe whispered, adjusting her own disguise, a bright yellow security vest and a pair of thick, rimmed glasses. They were standing in the service tunnel of the Grand Arena. Above them, the floor was literally vibrating with the roar of 10,000 fans. Marcus, Leo's brother, was already on stage, shaking hands with Viper and signing the papers. The backstage area was a hive of activity. They reached the heavy steel door of the broadcast suite. 2 guards stood in front of it. A mascot hug? The guards sneered. Suddenly, the mascot moved. With a speed that was terrifying for something made of polyester. Leo grabbed both guards by their collars and knocked their heads together with a dull thud. They slumped to the floor, unconscious. Remind me never to make you angry, Chloe gasped, pulling out a keycard. They burst into the control room. Don't move, Chloe shouted, holding up her phone. I'm live, streaming this to 50,000 people. Leo ripped off the mascot head. He was sweating, his silver hair messy, but he looked like a god of war. He stepped up to the main microphone. Marcus. Leo's voice boomed through the stadium speakers, cold and absolute. Stop signing the papers. Chloe hit the enter key. The giant screens in the arena stopped showing Marcus's face. Instead, they played a grainy, high-definition video of Marcus and Viper sitting in the penthouse, laughing as they planted the microphone. The silence that followed was deafening. Then, a single boo started in the back of the arena. Within seconds, 10,000 people were screaming, a tidal wave of fury directed at the stage. Leo turned to Chloe. We did it, he whispered. No, Leo said, pulling her into his arms. Right there in the booth. With the cameras still rolling and the whole world watching. Zero was a mask. I'm just Leo. And I'm not going anywhere without my queen. He leaned down, kissing her with a passion that made the broadcast monitors flicker. The arena went wild. The Chaos Queen had just saved the king. Suddenly, a red alert flashed. Emergency maintenance. 0 G account breached. All assets frozen by unknown entities. V. Leo's face turned grim. He didn't just try to sell the brand. He gave Viper the power to delete it. All 10 years of my career. All the data. All the wins. It's being erased. I have to go into the match. I have to beat the wipe manually. The air in the broadcast booth was thick with the smell of ozone and overheated copper. The deletion script is moving too fast, Leo muttered, his fingers flying across the keys with a speed that made him look less like a human and more like a machine. He's targeting the legacy files first. 10 years of matches, data, world records. It's all turning into zeros. Chloe sat in the chair next to him, her hands hovering over the secondary station. What do I do, Leo? I'm just a Chaos Queen. I'm going to mess up your code. Leo didn't look away, but he reached out, his hand finding hers for a brief, firm squeeze. I don't need a coder, Chloe. I need a distraction. They put on their headsets. Chloe's character spawned in a tiny, pink-haired avatar in a sea of encroaching black code. It's coming for the center, Leo shouted. Chloe, now. Chloe didn't use the standard tactics. She played with pure, unadulterated chaos. She jumped where she should have crouched. She threw useless items to create smoke screens. She moved in patterns that made no sense to a machine built on logic. The bot is stuttering, Chloe yelled, her eyes wide as the massive machine began to spin in circles. I've got the master key, Leo shouted. Chloe, get out of there. The server is about to reset. I can't. It's got me pinned. The bot had finally caught on. A massive red laser locked onto Chloe's avatar. The deletion script was inches away from her character. Chloe. Leo didn't hesitate. He didn't finish the save. Instead, he dove back into the glitched zone. His avatar shielding hers just as the laser fired. The screen exploded into a blinding white light. Chloe sat in the dark booth, her chest heaving. Leo, did we lose? A small, green light flickered on the main console. Recovery complete. Data integrity 99.9%. Leo slumped back in his chair, drenched in sweat. He ripped off his headset and looked at Chloe. He didn't say a word. He just reached out, grabbed the back of her neck, and pulled her into a forehead embrace. You saved it, he whispered, his voice cracking. You saved all of it. But then, the main monitor began to flicker again. A video began to play. It was a private vlog from 3 years ago. The girl in the video sat in a messy bedroom with a poster of Zero behind her. It was Chloe. If I could just meet him once. I'd give him everything. I'd do anything just to be in the same room as Leo Vance, even if I had to lie. The video cut to Chloe's private notes. Operation, Meet the King. It showed a map of Leo's apartment. Leo slowly pulled away, his hand dropping from her neck. He looked at her as if he were seeing a stranger. Chloe, did we meet because of a fire? Or a plan? The apartment map. Chloe, Leo said, his voice turning into frigid steel. Was any of it real? Or was the whole Chaos Queen just another script for a better contract? Before she could answer, the security doors burst open. Leo Vance, Chloe Moon. We have a warrant for your arrest regarding the server breach. The light in the interrogation room was a brutal, flickering fluorescent white. Chloe sat at the metal table, her hands cuffed across from her. A detective with a tired face was staring at her. So, let's go over it again. Miss Moon, the detective said, tapping a printout of the operation, Meet the King diary. The map of the 4th floor. The streaming schedule. You spent 2 years planning how to get into Leo Vance's life. That's quite a coincidence. Leo was looking at the screen, not at the operation files, but at a tiny, hidden folder Silas had found. It was a video she had never posted. In the video, a younger Chloe was holding a small, handmade card. Happy birthday, Leo. The video, Chloe whispered. You'll never see this. I just hope you're happy today. Leo realized the map wasn't showing how to get into his apartment. It was showing the locations of the security cameras, so she could avoid them. Chloe was led out of the interrogation room. The steel door opened. The roar of the paparazzi outside was like a physical wall of sound. Flashbulbs went off like lightning strikes. Chloe, did you plan the fire? Chloe bowed her head, trying to hide her face. But then, the crowd went silent. Leo Vance was standing there. He wasn't in a suit. He was wearing the same black hoodie he'd worn in the motel. His eyes locked onto hers. Leo reached her, his large hands coming up to cup her face. I'm sorry, he murmured. I'm your biggest fan, too. He turned to the cameras, his arm sliding around Chloe's waist. My name is Leo Vance, he said, And this is Chloe Moon. If you have a problem with her, you're looking at the wrong villain. He leaned down and kissed her, a deep, slow, unapologetic kiss that was broadcast to every screen on the planet. As the crowd roared, a dark, sleek car pulled up to the curb. A pair of cold, gray eyes that weren't Marcus's or Viper's, watched them from the shadows. So, he's chosen the girl over the Empire, a voice whispered. The Vance family doesn't take kindly to glitches. Delete them both. The car sped away, leaving a faint scent of expensive, bitter ozone in the air. The luxury sedan waiting outside the police station didn't belong to a sponsor. It didn't belong to a fan. It was a sleek, obsidian shadow with a crest on the door that made Leo's jaw turn to granite. "Elias," Leo whispered, his grip on Chloe's hand tightening. "Who is Elias?" Chloe asked. "My father," Leo said. "The man who built the Vance Empire. The man who decided that Zero was a more profitable son than Leo." One of the suits stepped forward. "Mr. Vance would like to see you both. Now. It isn't a request." Elias Vance sat in a high back chair, his silver hair perfectly slicked back, his suit costing more than Chloe's entire neighborhood. He didn't look at Leo. He looked at Chloe as if she were a smudge on a pristine window. "You've caused quite a mess, Miss Moon," Elias said. $50 million, Elias said, sliding a single piece of paper. "That is the price for your silence. You will sign this. You will disappear. And you will release a statement saying the entire relationship was a sophisticated scam. Then I will bury you," Elias said simply. "Leo, sit down," Elias commanded. "If you stay with her, I will strip you of the Zero-G name. I will take the penthouse, the hardware. You will be nothing. You'll just be a boy with no job and a pink-haired girl who will eventually realize that love doesn't pay for electricity." Chloe saw the flickers of hesitation in Leo's eyes, not because he wanted the money, but because he was terrified for her. "You think you built a prison? And the reason you hate me so much isn't because I'm a bug. It's because I'm the one with the key." Chloe looked at Leo. "Leo, do you remember the Vance flick? It's the move that made you predictable. It's time to do something unpredictable. Keep your money, Mr. Vance. We don't want it." Chloe grabbed Leo's hand and turned toward the door. "One more thing, Mr. Vance. That cat suit, I kept it. It's much more comfortable than this room." As the elevator doors closed, Leo leaned against the mirrored wall, his face pale. "He's going to pull the plug on everything tonight. I'll be back at level 1. Chloe reached up, her hands cupping his face. "Hey. Level 1 is where the best stories start." Leo looked at her, and for the first time, the Zero mask shattered completely, leaving behind a man who looked truly, vibrantly alive. "Let's go home," he said. They reached the sidewalk. Chloe's phone buzzed. It was a notification from a new, anonymous account. The message read, "The patch has been deployed. You have 60 seconds to find the bomb." Chloe froze. "Leo, look." A small, blinking red light was coming from underneath the car. Silas had lent them. "Run." Leo's voice cracked like a gunshot. He grabbed her waist and practically threw her toward a row of concrete pillars. They hit the cold ground together, Leo's body shielding hers just as a deafening boom shook the foundation of the building. The shock wave rattled Chloe's teeth. A fireball bloomed where the car had been, licking the ceiling with tongues of orange and black. Glass rained down like diamond dust, tinkling against the pavement. Chloe lay there, her face pressed into the rough fabric of Leo's hoodie. "I've got you," he whispered, his hands shaking as he cupped her face. He pulled back just enough to check her for injuries, his eyes wide and frantic. "Are you hurt? Chloe, talk to me." Leo looked at the flaming wreck. Everything was gone. The encrypted drives, the backup code, the last remnants of his Zero-G empire. "He's erasing the evidence," Leo realized. And he's showing us that as long as we're in his city, we own nothing. The hallway of the 4th floor felt like a different world. Chloe turned the key in her lock. "Welcome to the new empire," she said. The apartment was a mess. There was still a faint scent of smoke. Leo stepped inside, his tall frame making the room look like a dollhouse. He looked around at the cluttered shelves, the Zero poster on the wall, and the single, tiny bed in the corner. "It's cozy," Leo said. "It's a disaster," Chloe corrected him. "But it's our disaster." "I'm not that guy anymore, Chloe," Leo said softly. He reached out, his fingers tracing the edge of the poster. "I have no team. No sponsors. My bank accounts are frozen. I'm literally zero." Leo turned in her arms, his expression raw. He slumped against the wall, pulling Chloe into his lap as he slid down to the floor. In the quiet of the messy apartment, Leo buried his face in the crook of her neck. His shoulders shook just once. "I lost everything, Chloe." The screen flickered to life. A single window popped up. A chat box. "Undoen do you really think the game is over?" Leo froze. He stood up, moving to the computer. "It's a remote override. Own Elias Vance is old. I play with something much more fun tomorrow, 10 a.m. The final server patch goes live. If Zero isn't there to stop it, the entire global gaming network goes down. See you in the lobby. Ice King." "I'd hate to delete your girlfriend's account while she's watching." Chloe reached under her bed and pulled out a dusty, pink shoebox. She opened it to reveal a stack of old, crumpled $20 bills and a silver trophy. "It's not 50 million, Chloe said, handing him the box. "But it's enough for 2 keyboards, a lot of coffee, and one last stand." Leo looked at the shoebox, then at the girl. "One last stand," Leo repeated, his eyes turning back into the sharp, lethal blue of the king. "But this time, Chloe, we aren't just playing, we're winning." The local electronics store smelled like stale air and dust. It was 3 a.m. Leo Vance was currently staring at a row of budget gaming bundles. They were made of cheap plastic, glowing with tacky rainbow LEDs. "It's purple," Leo said, lifting a headset that had cat ears on the top. "It was on sale," Chloe whispered. Leo looked at her. He didn't complain. He just leaned down and kissed the top of her head. "It's perfect," he said. "Let's go." 4B had been transformed into a war room. Chloe's small kitchen table was covered in tangled wires and empty energy drink cans. Leo sat on a wooden kitchen chair that creaked. His monitor was an old TV screen propped up by a stack of textbooks. Leo's fingers danced across the cheap, clacking keys. The sound was loud and sharp, echoing in the tiny room. "He's using the back doors Marcus gave him. If I don't stop the patch, the Vance Empire just becomes the Viper Empire." Chloe grabbed her broken ring light, ducked, taped it to the back of a chair, and hit start stream. "Hey, Moon, Walkers," Chloe said, her voice shaking but gaining strength. "The world is about to lose its connection to everything, and the only way to stop it is for us to be a disaster together." The chat began to scroll. "We're here. Sklow. Tell us what to do." Leo pulled her closer, his forehead resting against hers in the dim light. "What if we fail? What if your father is right and we're just bugs?" Leo looked at her. "Then we'll be the bugs that broke the machine. I'd rather lose with you than win with him." He kissed her, a deep, slow, lingering kiss that tasted of coffee and desperate hope. It was a goodbye to the old Zero and a hello to whatever came next. "Now," Chloe screamed. 50,000 fans slammed the login button. The global server groaned under the weight of 1,000,000 Chaos Queen avatars. "The firewall is lagging," Leo shouted, his fingers a blur. "I'm in. I'm at the root." But then, The screen turned a violent, flashing red. Warning, biometric operage detected. Physical showdown initiated. My father, Leo hissed. He's cutting the power to the entire block. Chloe, the door. I need 30 seconds. Chloe looked at the door, then at the pink shoebox. She grabbed the heavy silver trophy she'd won years ago. She stood in front of the door, the trophy raised like a mace, as the first kick landed on the wood. Crack. Boom. The cheap wooden door of apartment 4B groaned, wood splinters flying across the linoleum. Chloe gripped the silver trophy until her knuckles were white. She stood in the narrow hallway, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. I have a heavy trophy and a very bad temper, Chloe shouted, her voice shaking but defiant. Don't you dare come in here, through the crack in the door. She saw them, 3 men in dark, expensive suits. Out of the way. Miss Moon, the lead man said. Leo. How much longer? Chloe yelled over her shoulder. 10%. Leo's voice was a ragged whisper. Chloe threw her weight against it, her heels sliding on the floor. I'm just a girl who streams farm games, Chloe thought. But if they get past me, they break him. You're not. Getting in suddenly. A new sound erupted. Hey, what do you think you're doing to our neighbor? It was Mrs. Gable from 4C and half a dozen college students, all holding smartphones like weapons. We're live, one of the students shouted. Inside the room, the old TV screen flashed a brilliant, blinding green. Patch deployed. Worm neutralized. Master access restored. Leo slumped back in the creaky kitchen chair, his headset falling around his neck. He looked at the screen, then at his hands, which were shaking uncontrollably. It's done, he whispered. It's over. The suits outside retreated down the stairs, followed by the boos and jeers of the neighbors. Chloe dropped the trophy. She stumbled back into the room, her legs finally giving out. She sat on the floor, leaning against the wall, her chest heaving. Leo was there in an instant. He slid onto the floor next to her, pulling her into his arms. Are you okay? He rasped. Chloe, I'm so sorry. I should have never put you in that position. Are you kidding? Chloe laughed, a shaky sound. She buried her face in his neck. I just defended the king with a bowling trophy. Zero was a ghost, Chloe. Leo murmured. I don't want to be perfect anymore. I want to be the guy who lives in 4B. I want to be the guy who helps you fix your microwave. I want to be yours. Chloe felt her heart overflow. Even if we're at level 1? Especially at level 1. Leo smiled. He kissed her then, a slow, deep, and final victory. It wasn't a contract kiss. It was the kiss of 2 people who had survived the storm and found the shore. Outside, the sun was beginning to rise over the city. Leo's phone buzzed. It was a screenshot of the global rankings. Rank number 1, 0, retired. Rank number 2, Sheos Queen below it. A message from the moon. Walkers. We're waiting for the first real couple stream. Queen. Well, Director, Leo said, looking at Chloe with a playful glint in his eyes. I think we have an audience to entertain. 3 months later, the neon lights of the new streaming studio weren't cold and blue. They were a warm, soft sunset orange. Leo Vance, formerly the Ice King, currently the co-host of the internet's most popular variety stream, was struggling with a microphone stand. He was wearing a simple white shirt and a pair of glasses that made him look devastatingly handsome. It means we're live, you big dork. Chloe laughed, sliding into the chair next to him. She looked radiant. Her pink hair was a bit longer now, and the Chaos Queen crown she wore was a real, glittering prop given to her by her million-strong Moon Walker army. The chat window was a tidal wave of hearts and crying emojis. Mom and Dad are back. Look how he looks at her. 92 days. Leo corrected her, a soft, genuine smile playing on his lips. I've been counting. Look at that smile, Chloe thought. The stream was a whirlwind of fun. They played a co-op game where they had to build a house together. Leo was being his usual perfectionist self, while Chloe was busy decorating the digital roof with dozens of pink flamingos. Leo, the flamingos add character. They add a frame. Rate drop, Chloe. They add love. Leo suddenly went quiet. He stopped his character. I was thinking about rule number 3 in the original contract. The chat went silent. The no personal feelings rule, Chloe asked. Leo reached into his pocket and pulled out a single page from the old contract. He pulled out a red pen and drew a massive, messy X over the entire page. That contract is officially terminated, Leo said. The board of directors is gone. It's just us. He stood up, and for the first time in his life, Leo Vance looked nervous. He reached under the desk and pulled out a new document. It only has one rule. Chloe took the paper, her eyes blurring with tears as she read, Rule 1, the party never ends. No expiration date. No escape clauses. At the bottom of the page, there was a small, velvet box. Leo took the box, opening it to reveal a ring. Yes, Chloe choked out, a laugh bubbling up through her tears. Leo laughed, a bright, beautiful sound, and slid the ring onto her finger. He stood up and pulled her into a kiss that was so real, so messy, and so full of love that the chat window actually crashed for 30 seconds. He reached out and hit the end stream button. The red light went out. The world disappeared. And in the quiet of their new home, the only sound was the laughter of two people who had finally found exactly what they were looking for. Level complete. The end.